This one, why does everyone love One Piece now? And literally this is the question for me as well. If you asked me 5 years ago about One Piece, I'll be like, no, not my type of anime. But now that I started watching One Piece and I'm into it, I'm like, damn, One Piece is actually really good. So I want to know why. What changed? Did something change for everyone, or is it just me?
Unless you've been stuck in Impel Down for the last few years, then you probably noticed that One Piece has kind of exploded in popularity. And yes, part of that is that manga sales are up and interest on the internet is at an all-time high, but we even have big names publicly supporting the series now, like Dua Lipa, Zion Williamson, Jamie Lee Curtis, and many others. And not to mention, it's getting a live action with the budget of Game of Thrones that releases sometime later this year, and they've even released their own trading card game. But the question is, why is One Piece getting all this hype in the first place? And just how big is this thing going to get? And I think that discussion has to start with the community that One Piece already has.
What just happened?
I might be biased, but I think the One Piece community is really like none other. I mean, yes, it's the best-selling manga of all time and the second best-selling comic by a single author, but even right here on YouTube, we just completed the 11th annual Reverie with literally dozens of different creators. There are only so many stories that even last that long, let alone provide enough content to have this many creators doing so well. I mean, One Piece started all the way back in the middle of 1997, and despite almost 30 years of consistent weekly chapter releases, we've still barely solved any of the biggest mysteries in the story. And if anything, Oda just gives us more questions than answers almost every single week.
Man, we're
but that's
hooked
kind of
forever.
the beauty of One Piece, and at least part of why it's continued to build such a massive following. And although we don't know exactly when it's going to end, we know that we're approaching its final saga. And when any story starts to reach its end, that always gives it a boost in popularity. I mean, think about what it was like during the final season of Game of Thrones, or how the sales
Don't remind me. Don't remind me of the last season. Please don't do that. That's mean. Don't do that.
exploded for Demon Slayer when it ended. Or even in the realm of sports, where the single most watched program of the year every year is always the Super Bowl. It's just that natural desire for people to see how things end, and with One Piece inching closer and closer to that every week, the hype is only going to continue to build. And I think another reason why this is going to be a big deal is because of the growing interest in manga and anime in general, and how new people are starting to give it a try every single day. I mean, Zion went as far to say that about 80% of NBA players are already into anime, but they just won't admit it. And look, I can kind of get that. Everyone that loves anime has probably been called a weeb at some point in time. I mean, I remember getting called a weeb when
I feel like it's easier for girls to say out loud that they like anime than for guys.
pulled into Valvoline one time because of my car's Straw Hat decal. But I think as celebrities continue to come out in support of different anime and it keeps getting the marketing love that it's gotten lately here in the US, then it's naturally going to lead to more and more people to the biggest one, being One Piece. And when you couple that with the fact that this long journey is finally approaching the final saga, then who knows how big the community could be by the end. I mean, I talked about Zion earlier, but Rudy Gobert, who is another prominent NBA player, wore One Piece shoes during a game before. And despite his struggles so far this season, Rudy isn't some scrub, he's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And if you know anything about NBA players, they're really picky about their shoes, so it means a lot that you would wear those during a game. And it's not just basketball, because we even saw a Straw Hat flag during the World Cup and several One Piece poses during the Olympics. And switching sports over to football, which is the most popular sport here in the US, we even had the USC marching band play an entire halftime show devoted to One Piece Film Red during their home opener. And if you don't know, USC is one of the biggest football programs in the entire country. So there's a lot of people that were exposed to One Piece who probably never heard of it that day. And in the NFL, we've seen Jamal Williams, running back for the Detroit Lions, wear a custom One Piece thigh pad during a game. And he also loves Pokemon, if you haven't heard.
I just want to go home and play Pokemon.
Go home and play Pokemon.
Yeah.
And you know that the series has to mean a lot to these people for them to go out of their way to rep it like that in public. And that's what's so awesome to me. The community for One Piece is really just so strong, and when you meet a One Piece fan in public, it's like the ultimate icebreaker. Like it's a friend from high school or something, but instead of talking about your jobs and families, you ask about the ancient weapons and, you know, robots with nipple lights. But one of the most common barriers to getting new people into One Piece is the length. And with at least 1,071 chapters and 1,047 episodes adapted and counting, I can kind of understand why it feels daunting to people. But that's just another reason why all of this public support, either from athletes and celebrities or just us current One Piece fans, can go such a long way, as well as all the various ways that now exist to digest One Piece. And my favorite way is what's called One Pace. And in case you haven't heard of it, the amazing team at onepace.net has basically cut down all the filler and made the
I heard about this, and I was asking my community as well when I started watching One Piece, should I watch the anime and just skip the fillers, or should I go and watch on One Piece? And a lot of people were saying, yeah, One Piece is also like really good because it already cuts some scenes for you and makes it easier. But for me, the site itself was so overwhelming. I didn't understand where to start, where to finish. I was so scared to start watching this because I'm recording my episodes, the reactions to my Patreon, and I was like, dude, I cannot mess this up. I would rather be like, I don't understand this unreleased somewhere. Then they have 3 episodes in an arc or these names, this title. I was like, man, I don't have any guidance. I have no one to ask what to do. I'm just gonna go with the regular anime and just skip the fillers.
Anime more true to the manga, and it actually cuts your entire watch time almost down by half, which is pretty crazy. So I definitely recommend that as a way to make the journey feel less daunting to new viewers. And not to mention the dubbed version of the anime is...
And then, sorry to pause again, but there's some people who, when I asked them, they said, no, watch, for the first time watching, it's better to watch the original anime and skip the fillers than to watch this. This is for people who already know and they want to rewatch.
Finally in Wano after years and years of being hundreds of episodes behind, which to me is a sign in and of itself that they expect some serious growth in English-speaking countries sooner rather than later. But another way to watch One Piece is coming later this year, and that would be the live-action series on Netflix. Now, while we can all recognize that there have been some misses when it comes to live-action anime, and misses on Netflix in general, I can confidently say that if we were to ever have a good One Piece live-action series, then the team and the investments behind it would look like the ones that are behind this series. Everything from the showrunners, the casting, the set pieces, and just the general fact that it has a similar budget to Game of Thrones all tell me that they have their heads in the right place and that they're up to the challenge. I mean, Matt Owens...
True, all of that is true. However, the essence of One Piece is how the characters themselves don't look as human. Every single character looks so different and unique. It's not really possible for humans to depict that. You know? I don't know. You can't just bring a blue guy or a pink guy. You have to like paint him blue or paint him. And it doesn't look good.
Co-showrunner and executive producer of the show is a huge fan of the series, and he even joined us on the Reverie just a few days ago, and it isn't the first time he's done that. And he gave us a little bit of info about the live action too, so I'll leave a link to the whole VOD on Randy Troy's channel down below, and a summary video of his comments from Desna's the Dwarf. So with that being said, this provides another avenue to get more people into the story. I mean, Netflix still has over 200 million subscribers around the world, and I imagine that there's a lot of people who are more willing to give the new big live action show a try than what they may see as just a 30-year-old cartoon series. I mean, I know my mom is in that boat for sure. And who knows, once they get to the end of the first season, new viewers may want to pick up the anime or check out the manga to see how the rest of things unfold. Or if not, that's totally fine. Because what's important is that One Piece is finding new ways to reach new audiences, and that's only going to help it grow even more. But really, the catalyst for all the hype is the story itself. The meat and potatoes, if you will. And that's where One Piece really excels the most, in my opinion. And 2023 in particular could be a massive year for the story. I mean, the anime is only a few months from animating probably one of the biggest scenes in the entire story, and the manga itself has been subjectively and probably objectively fire over the last few months. And Oda even went as far to tell us that we should expect a free-for-all battle royale coming up soon. I mean, One Piece was already doing really well, but this might just be its biggest year yet, and that will only lead to a feedback effect where big events keep happening, then more people try to get their friends into the series, more big names come out to support the series in public, then more big events happen in the manga, etc. And by the time we get to the very end, I think the community will be bigger than just about anyone expects. And while it may not be everyone's favorite series, it is a series that has something for everyone. Whether it's the lessons about found family, about freedom, or about anything in between, there are just so many lessons to learn from One Piece, and that's why it pulls so many people towards it. And that's what led celebrities like these to support the series in public, and probably why many of you clicked on this video today. It truly is bigger than another manga or anime to most of its fans because of what it means to people. And despite my own fanboyism, I think it's fair to say the end of a story like One Piece is a once-in-a-lifetime thing. I mean, how many times will we get to see a global community celebrate one single story that has stretched across almost 30 years of time?
That is crazy. Am I like watching the first episodes of the anime 30 years old? No way. I feel like maybe the manga is 30 years old.
Has made this series the best-selling manga of all time. And while there are a lot of things we all want to see by the end of the series, what most of us have been waiting for is the same goal that was set up in Chapter 1. And that is Luffy's goal to become the king of the pirates. And having the opportunity to celebrate that moment with you guys is the biggest reason I became a creator in the first place, and I can't wait to see it all happen. Like and subscribe.
Can't wait. I can't believe that I found something to look forward to and be a part of in 2023. That is crazy. And it's One Piece out of everything. I'm excited. I'm so excited.